Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Just one last thing on the financial situation. We now have a new category of zombie bank. Beyond the zombie bank, or as a new acute category within the universe of the zombie banks, we have the deadbeat zombie banks. And these are defined as zombie institutions which have received money under the bailout, under the TARP, the Bush, Paulson, Palin, McCain, Obama TARP of October 2008, but then have defaulted on payments. There are now 132 banks that have defaulted on TARP payments, and there are 19 such banks which have missed 6 or more payments. Now, it'd be interesting. This is a Friday again. This is when Sheila Bair strikes at the little prey. She doesn't go after the big game in Wall Street. She goes after the community bank of Podunk Center out in the High Plains or something like this. We're told that they're all community lenders. I don't know. Take a look at that Bank of America stock chart. Take a look at the Citibank stock chart. Take a look at some of the others. They're supposedly solid institutions. They're on the cartel committee, but I'm from Missouri, I guess, when it comes to this. We have had about 155 banks that have been shut down during 2010, all small ones, because otherwise they survive under too big to fail. The illegal policy, the criminal illegal policy pursued by Sheila Bair, darling of the media, is too big to fail. Not public law, but too big to fail. That's her lodestar. And we've also got, 450 banks on the troubled list. So you add that up. Our 1929 to 1931 parallel is, of course, first the panic in New York, then the European banking collapse, and then the U.S. banking panic coming back. So all is in readiness for a banking crisis here in the U.S., which proceeds pari passu, let us say, hand in hand with the further breakdown of European state finances. And again, you could stop this dead in its tracks within 48 hours, ban credit default swaps, ban collateralized debt obligations, 1% emergency Tobin tax on all financial transactions over $1 million per person, and a few other things like that, re-regulate those commodities markets, stop fraud closures, enforce the antitrust law, shut down zombie banks if they violate the existing regulations, which most of them do. All right. In Russia, a happy note at the end of the year. Khodorkovsky gets 6 more years in jail. His sentence now goes up to 14 years, 8 years plus 6 more years based on the latest conviction. And you saw Putin coming out at his year-end question-answering session saying criminals and thieves should be in jail. How refreshing. The richest oligarchical predator in the country is put in jail. Even if this is not typical of the policy as a whole, this is a whole lot better than where we are. Imagine the mental liberation that would occur if the arch monopolist and arch exploiter, destroyer of companies and jobs, Bill Gates, were to be jailed, or his pretentious friend Warren Buffett, the sage of Omaha. How about if they were to join Khodorkovsky in a Siberian prison camp? Wouldn't that be somehow poetic justice for what these people have done to the American people? And we're also now watching Hillary Clinton in a real lather about this. I'm thinking of Lord Palmerston, right? If you were a British citizen, he would defend you with gunboats anywhere. A Greek got arrested, and he came forward with that famous civis Romanus sum, or civis Romanus sum, depending on your Latin approach. For Clinton, it's oligarchus sum, oligarchus Americanus sum. Anywhere in the world, there's a finance oligarch. They're an implied protected category for the United States. Now, let's look forward to the ogres of this other stripe that are now coming to town. We've got Spencer Bacchus, Bacchus the Lord of Wine. The disciples of Bacchus are coming to town. Spencer Bacchus is going to become head of the House Financial Services and Banking Committee, and he says, government and the regulators are here to serve the banks. Regulators are here to serve the banks. How refreshing. Joe Barton, I don't know whether he got the House Energy Committee, but he apologizes to BP for the idea that they're being called to account. It is interesting that the Republicans have dropped the plan to privatize Fannie and Freddie. If you were a Tea Party fanatic and you believed they would do this, they're not going to do it because that would bring down the entire system. So you're going to get a whole bunch of people. House Foreign Relations goes into the hands of Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, for whom, of course, the world revolves around Cuba and the need to oust Fidel Castro and Raul from there. That's now going to be the main issue in American foreign policy, which I submit is not the case. But let's look at some of these other people. We've got Boehner, of course. We've got Cantor. We've got some of the ones that I've mentioned. But let's take a rank and file one. He written up in the Washington Post this past week. Here we have Congressman-elect Mike Kelly, Republican from Pennsylvania. I think it's Butler, Pennsylvania, half an hour or so north of Pittsburgh. He is a wealthy Chevrolet dealer in this town with 110 employees. He's the oldest freshman. He's avuncular. That's something he might have learned from Reagan, right? How to be nasty but pretend to be a nice uncle. His motto, kill more than you eat. Kill more than you eat, and when you don't kill, eat less. And when he comes and he sees the toadies at the Congress taking his coat and so forth, he says, I'm thinking somebody has to pay for all these folks to be here, and it's all paid by us. That's U.S. taxpayer money. Well, you get the idea. Cut and gut. And again, repeatedly, run the country like a business. Run the country like a business. And he got into I think, a justified rage when Ratner the Rat came after him and tried to take his General Motors dealership away in 2009, Chevrolet and Cadillac, and his family had been doing this for a long time, but he's now out there in Butler, Pennsylvania. There used to be the AK Steel Factory, which had 3,500 workers, and now it has 1,300. It used to be that the big industry in the town was the Pullman plant to build Pullman cars for the railroad. So he's coming in, and his idea is brutal austerity. And you see the sociology of these people. This is the petty bourgeoisie. This is the middle class of a certain type. In his case, he's an auto dealer. You can see he's kind of an appendage of, not even of General Motors, but of General Motors Acceptance Corporation, which is now called Ally, in case you're keeping score. Real estate brokers, insurance brokers, stock brokers, auto dealers, people in the petty bourgeoisie who are not the independent petty bourgeoisie of doctors and lawyers of once upon a time, small-town newspaper editors no. They are direct appendages of Wall Street. And here we have people whose mentality tends to gravitate towards the right-wing Wall Street faction, the Rupert Murdoch, George Shultz, Koch brothers faction. And that's what you're going to get. So it's very likely that we will have an Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March. The Ides of March this time around will be the legislation passed funds the government until about March, and at the same time we're going to be bumping up against the national debt limit. Will there be an attempt to dictate draconian apocalyptic austerity, to starve the beast, to loot and strip and flay the American people under the cover of fiscal responsibility in March, April of this year? And, of course, if it comes, Obama will capitulate right away. So what do we do? That's our problem right now. Back in a minute.